14 years ago. So, or
Wow.
I'm sorry, that was 12. I'm older than that. It was 22 years ago.
Okay. So he is the resident expert. We've been in the same league for 3 years now, and we are tearing it
Mhm.
up. But today in our show, what do we got to you? We have sleepers, we've got boom and bust, we have matchups, we've got the lightning round is back, and then but let's start out with a busy injury report.
Yeah, so we're going to go through some of these injury reports here. First one I have is to upgrade all of the receivers for Green Bay because it does look like Jordan Love with that groin injury is expected to play, so it's going to boost up the receiving core there. Malik Willis definitely downplays that a little bit more. So Jordan Love is playing. So if you have Jordan Love or you have any of the receivers, congratulations, you can play them this week. Travis Etienne with a hamstring injury. He is a game time decision. Tank Bigsby is also a game time decision. I don't even know who the third running back is on that team, but it's going to be. Um, uh, I mean, they have so many injuries. If you just go through the Jags, they have Travis Etienne questionable. They have Brian Thomas Jr. is questionable with the chest contusion. They have Gabe Davis is also questionable. Christian Kirk out for the season. Tank Bigsby's also questionable. So they are just a wounded duck. But those are game time decisions there. Josh Jacobs is questionable. He's a game time decision. He got hurt fourth quarter. They don't know. They haven't said that it looks bad or doubtful or anything like that, but it is going to be a game time decision. So keep your eye on that. Make sure that you pick up any free agencies that play in the afternoon or later because that is an afternoon game and they don't have to disclose any of that information if he's playing until about 90 minutes before the game. So we will see if that updates anytime between now and tomorrow. Tony Pollard also had a foot injury, but it looks like he's feeling good and is expected to play this week. So that's awesome. Stephon Diggs with that torn ACL is out for the year. We figured out this week. Nico Collins can come back as soon as next week after their loss to the Jets this week. And as far as with that, good news is that there is no setbacks, which if we know anything, there's two major things that happen. If we know anything about the 49ers, they are not as transparent as we would love them to be with injuries, but as long as no setbacks are set, it looks like hopefully we can finally have the number one draft pick of the league play after this week's bye week. So would be huge for a team like my wife's to have to have him finally come in and play. So the other one is that TJ Hawkinson is expected to play this week. Don't really think that affects any of our matchups because my wife has him and she also has David Njoku, who's playing out of his mind as well. But TJ Hawkinson, for all you people who held on to him, he is questionable still, but there is a chance he could play as this week. So that is one to keep your eye on. So that is my injury report.
That's solid. Happy to see Jordan Love um, back in Green Bay. Yeah, it's just such a different feel. I know a lot of fans are really happy with what Malik has been doing, but Jordan Love just elevates that entire team when he's 100%.
100%. I mean, he's proven to be a good quarterback, and those receivers definitely reap the benefits of having him in the game compared to more of a running game with Malik Willis.
Well, speaking of elevating a team, fly Eagles fly. My sleeper for this week. This is the last week you can do it. So this is it. My sleeper for this week is Grant Calcaterra for the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to have a great week. Dallas Goedert is out, and he's a big play guy. And they're up against Jacksonville, that gives up the second most receiving yards in the league. So Grant Calcaterra for the Eagles is my sleeper for the week.
Yeah. So my sleeper for this week is going to be, oh gosh, why did I totally space on him? Uh,
So what?
Oh, man,
You're
I'm so
gonna
sorry.
laugh at my sleeper, and then you can't even remember yours.
I know. I had a good one too.
You're over
Jeez
there just
Louise.
giggling at my
No.
sleeper, like, oh, he has a shitty sleeper, and now
And now here I am, just not even able to come up with my sleeper as far as Parker. I'm so sorry. My sleeper for this week was Parker Washington, and he is this all is contingent on what Brian Thomas and Gabe Davis is able to statuses are for this game. But if they're not going to be there, I mean, and Travis Etienne might not be there. Outside of Evan Ingram, I don't know who else they're going to throw to. Parker Washington has had a good game in the past, but I think that he could be a sleeper this week, depending on how depleted that those Jacksonville Jaguars are.
okay. So what's your problem with Grant Calcaterra, my sleeper?
It's not that I have a problem with it. It's just, it's an interesting take. I like it. That's what sleepers are supposed to be. So, yeah, I know, Caleb. I had a brain fart there for 2 seconds. Okay. I apologize. That's on me. But yeah, so, but this week I have to start this boom conversation off because I called it for the last 2 weeks. I said it was beating a dead horse all week long. It finally happens. Joe Flacco, the man in the cape, comes in to rescue the Colts season. You could go ahead and boom both Joshua Downs and Michael Pittman Jr. this week because Joe Flacco as a quarterback, Downs has been a wide receiver 5 with the average between the weeks that he's played with Joe Flacco. He's a wide receiver 5. Michael Pittman is a wide receiver 19 as well. Both super playable. I'm giving a boom to all receivers as long as Anthony Richardson does not get back onto the field. And I don't see that happening unless Joe Flacco somehow gets injured, which he's old. He could happen. But as of right now, those are my booms for the week. I'm even playing Josh Downs myself this week. So that's how much of a boom I feel for him.
Yeah, I saw that you were playing Downs. I had questions. But yeah, Joe Flacco, we are big fans here at JD Fantasy Football. My rising star this week has to do with another quarterback change, getting back to Tua. Look, you've got to get on the train with Devon Achane. He had 8 receiving targets and a receiving touchdown to go along with 10 rush yards and 97 yards last week. What more do you want? I mean, these are enormous numbers. There's no reason Buffalo should slow him down. Achane, get it done.
Boom.
Boom. He is going to boom.
Yes.
I do have a runner-up, though, and that's Josh Jacobs. And I obviously contention on Jordan Love playing because Malik Willis hurts that a little bit. But, yeah, he's had a couple good weeks. He hasn't been the TD scorer that fantasy want, but if he can keep this up, he is going to be a boom the rest of the year. He's just getting started. So honorable mention for a boom.
I love that. I mean, he's a consistent guy. I mean, if you look at every week, he's a 12, a 15, an 11, a 16, a 12, a 20, and a 27, even though he's been booming more recently with catching and stuff like that and touchdowns. But he was bound to get those, and he has just been Mr. Consistent all year long, hasn't missed a game. So I love that. But to start off with my busts of the week, it's going to be Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. I think they play the Chiefs, who are allowing a league best 3-point-something yards per carry, when that's the best in the league with that. Rachaad White will probably have some playing capabilities because he has been the pass catcher. Now, Bucky Irving can catch it, but it seems like they're throwing more to White. So he may have some capabilities to score. But if I have an opportunity to, I am avoiding playing either one of those guys.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, I think you're just hurt by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jordan. I think you're just you're feeling.
Listen, I don't have Chris Godwin. I have no reason to vote for them anymore. You shouldn't be playing your players in garbage time. You don't get injuries, but here we are. Chris Godwin out for the week. Mike Evans out for at least another week or two. Congratulations. And they still threw. They still went out there and I'm sorry. That's a rant that we could get onto another day. Touchy subject.
I feel like this bust section, it is kind of like a little mini hate session.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my bust is, and I'll take responsibility for this bust, okay? Just in case there's some controversy. But my bust is DJ Moore. He has had one boom, and it was against the Carolina Panthers. He's had 2 busts. His targets are down. His last 2 games, he's at less than 30 yards. He is not who wide receiver managers thought he'd be. They thought they'd be getting a better, more consistent wide receiver when they started the season. So, yeah, DJ Moore is my bust, and I don't see him breaking out of it. There's a ton of targets there in Chicago, and Caleb Williams will complete 9 or 10 passes in a game. He'll have a boom, but he spreads that ball out. He doesn't have someone he loves yet other than maybe Cole Kmet. So, yeah, DJ Moore is my bust for this week.
It's a great bust. I mean, the only game he boomed in was against the Carolina Panthers. So,
Yeah.
I mean, hard defenses. I think they have an easy like 2 or 3 next games, but then or two next games, but then I think they're playing some real stiff competition. So I think he's not only going to see it be worse.
All right. Well, let's get into the matchups this week. We go through the matchups in our league, 2 divisions, Fire and Ice. Not sure why, but that's what they are. Yeah. Let's start out. I'm going to start and talk about Josh. Let me pull that up. Did put away my hockey league. Let's see here.
Put away my hockey league.
Caleb knows about my hockey league. Let's see. So, okay, yeah. So Josh, Josh has got a good team. He's a scary dude. This is the battle of the brothers this week. But here's the deal with Josh. He's really struggled with DJ Moore, who I just talked about, and Caleb Williams. Can Moore get going? They're up against the Cardinals. Cardinals give up a lot of points. I don't know, maybe. But what he does have going for him is Swift. Since the Rams game, they started with the Rams. The Bears have been feeding Swift, and he's produced at a high level. He has tough matchups coming up, but he will get the touches. They've been feeding him like crazy, and I think Josh can lean on him. That is, and then he's right alongside him in the running back room. He's got Jahmyr Gibbs. He won't have any trouble. The Packers have been bleeding yards all year to running backs, and so yeah, Josh is going to win, even though he does have some questions with DJ Moore. He's going to win just fine because of that running back room is going to get him 45, 50 points this week.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm also taking Josh, or I also think Josh has a solid team, but with Ben's team, I don't want to talk about just one specific player. I just want to say RIP Ben for this week. And the reason being is because you have George Pickens, Najee Harris, Juwan Jennings, all on bye, DK Metcalf hurt, Anthony Richardson sat, and you traded away Jonathan Taylor. So you have Brian Robinson, which is great, but yeah, I mean, he's forced to play Keenan Allen, who hasn't been showing any like a huge connection with Caleb Williams throughout the whole time. Taysom Hill, who I don't know if something happened between last week and this week, but it does not look like he's. I don't think he's going to be like amazing this week. And Jared Goff as your running or as your quarterback. And no offense to Jared Goff, because he is like quarterback 10 over here throughout this time. But I mean, he also has had a lot of like last week, the Lions can win in a lot of different aspects. Last week, he goes 12 for 15 for 80 yards. He doesn't even hit 100 yards. Now, mind you, he did, or 85 yards. Mind you, he did get 3 touchdowns, which saved him to only get 11.5 points. But I would take some bigger risks if I was in this scenario. I'd probably try to get another quarterback who has a little bit more capabilities. But Lad McConkey on this team could potentially be a real star, a real stud. I really like that. And yeah, I mean, overall, all this to tell you that I'm probably taking Josh this week. I don't think that with all those buys and everything and kind of the injuries that he can get pulled out of this by Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry can carry a lot on his shoulders. I just don't think this will be the game that he'll be able to do so.
Wow. R.I.P. Ben. That's sad. His guy got
just
tired.
This week. I'm just saying this week. That's all I'm saying. It's just this week. Oh, his guy got tired.
His guy got tired, man.
Anthony Richardson needed to step out, take a breather. It's cool. It's fine. It's the heat of the game. It's chill.
Well, let's move over to let's talk about Alexis versus Caleb.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to break down Caleb for us?
I love to break down Caleb. So this first one I'm going to talk about kind of hurts me, and it is Garrett Wilson. Gets 30 points, but at the same time, that was the risk that he was willing to take in that trade. So I don't regret that trade. I still think Drake London was a great piece for my team. But it does hurt to see 30. It does seem like every team is treating Davante Adams as he is number one. So Garrett Wilson's a beneficiary where he doesn't get as much. And if you've seen that catch that he made in the end zone, that one-handed catch, it just shows the special ability that he has week in, week out to be a target in that red zone. And then the second person I want to talk about is Lamar Jackson. Dude is quarterback one for the year right now. If you ask me, he should have been the first quarterback coming off. I think Patrick Mahomes had some iffy, or even going into the end of last year and everything, he wasn't great. There were so many question marks on Josh Allen and who he was going to throw to and what was going to happen. Lamar Jackson just every year consistently is top tier quarterback. He's averaging 10 rushes per game, which is crazy, and still throwing multiple touchdowns on 4 out of 5 games. One of those he got 5 touchdowns. He's only thrown 2 interceptions this year, and with his running capability, he does not get sacked as far as with it. So I think Lamar Jackson is a stud and will probably end quarterback one unless Jaden Daniels catches him. Yeah, I know, Caleb, and I still think it was an even trade. But I think we had a fight. Remember, I had to push him onto you for you to take him away from me. Okay, I threw him and every other person I could in a trade to you until one stuck. So I didn't want to take the risk. You did, and I think it's paying off for you. So. Yeah, Caleb, but what's your opinion on my wife's team?
Well, your wife's team, Shiva's got some decisions to make this week, and I do not envy her. The first decision she's got is, who do I play, Dak or Baker Mayfield? Kansas City's problem. They're a problem. Defensively, they are an elite team. But Baker is short some of his favorite weapons. So I'm leaning Dak because of Atlanta's defense, and it just seems like CeeDee Lamb is just destroying coverages no matter what they throw at him. So, but yeah, I don't envy her. She could still do well with Baker against Kansas City. He might he might get into the end zone several times. I don't know. That's going to be a tough one. Tough decision there, Shiva. And then she also had an interesting decision. And I liked her decision so far. She might change it, obviously. But she's got Zay Flowers or Tyler Lockett. She's got Zay starting right now. So the Rams are a tougher defense. So Tyler Lockett's going to have a harder time. And the Ravens offense seems to be trending in the right direction. That being said, he's just not been the red zone target that Alexis would want. He is one touchdown this year, Zay Flowers. So yeah, I do like that she started Zay over Lockett just because of the matchups this week. But that's another tough decision. I do not envy her. I do think Caleb's going to win this week. Sorry, Alexis, but yeah, good luck with your decisions.
I am not doubting the power of the Mayfield and the power of a
Ah,
neighbors. I am going to take the underdog at this point and take my wife to win this week.
little home cooking right
A
there.
little home cooking.
Yeah,
So we have we probably have a pretty good matchup this week with Skip and Finkel.
yeah.
Um, so what do you think about Finkel on this week?
Well, he's got Devontae Smith. And Devontae Smith, you can say what you want about him this year. He has been a reliable fantasy football stud. Um, I expect him to do just fine against the Jaguars since they are just absolute garbage. The questions for Daniel: What Joe Burrow are we going to get this week? Um, what? Yeah, what hairstyle are we going to get from Joe Burrow? And then what are we going to get from Tyrone Tracy Jr.? He's been kind of boom bust. They said sometimes they feed him, sometimes they don't. I think that's going to make or break Daniel this week. Yeah, that what Joe Burrow, what Tyrone Tracy. He's got some good guys he can lean on, but he needs a little boom from both of those guys.
Yeah, agree completely. So I Skip on the other hand here, I think has some problems that he's trying to work out. So I think Calvin Ridley was one of the ones that kind of stood out for me. Now I understand last week Calvin Ridley looked like the guy he looked like in week, what was it, 2? But then he continued after that to be one of the worst receivers in the league. Not like talent wise, but just fantasy wise. He hits that 24.7, then 1.9, 2.5, 0.9, 7.2.
Negative.
And one of those games, he got 8 targets and 0 catches. So the other game, last game, he got 9 targets and 3 catches. Like, nice that he got 15 targets. The other thing for Calvin Ridley is he is going to probably be shadowed by Gonzalez for New England. And the last 4 out of 5 receivers that he shadowed, they haven't gotten more than 13 fantasy points. I don't think Ridley is more special with Mason Rudolph than those other receivers they face. So I think he's going to have another rough week this week. The other one for me is Kareem Hunt. He has been an absolute stud. His efficiency hasn't been great. But he's getting 20 to 25 touches. What I really want to talk about is after, the next few weeks, which there is a chance within the next 2-3 weeks that Isaiah Pacheco could get back into this game, going into the end of the year where you really need that running back in a situation where you're 3-5, you're probably going to be trying to win towards the end. What happens when Isaiah Pacheco comes back and Kareem Hunt is no longer involved? He has Zach Charbonnet on his bench, but outside of that, I don't know who you would put into this position. So I think there's a real big hole that can be had in the future. With that said, this week I am going to take Finkel Einhorn.
Yeah, I've got Finkel as well. Man, Joe Mixon got him 18 points. How good is Joe Mixon? I know we talked about him last week, but my goodness, he is.
Guy has missed 3 games and is still a top 10 running back. He's number 8 right now with 3 games at 0. So,
And that brings us to
now coming your way, the matchup of the week.
yes, we absolutely have the matchup of the week. We've got Taylor versus the Bears.
woo, 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 woo. This is going to be a tough one. We have 129 to 131.
Yep.
It's going to be projections right now 4-4 versus 5-3. The Bears trying to bounce back after a rough week last week, playing against no other than my wife. Tay coming off a big victory against Skip to bring in the 4-4. So this is going to be a huge game this this week, I think.
Yeah, I wish they
They
could
could be
both
tied
lose.
after this.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
that would help
too.
me out quite a bit.
But
Yeah,
what do you think
so
about Tay's team?
man, Taylor, listen, he has to be so happy that he made the decision to play Darnold instead of CJ Stroud this week
Yeah.
because Stroud he just looked bad. What is happening with CJ Stroud? Seriously, like, what are you seeing, Jordan?
Right now, it's just so CJ Stroud at the beginning of the year is kind of why I stayed away from him. Even though he has a great receiving core, he has no legs. And so, if you don't run as a quarterback, you have to throw about 300 yards and multiple touchdowns every game, which is really hard to do in the NFL. Especially when you have a good running back in Joe Mixon and stuff like that. And they're leaning, Joe Mixon's getting 20 to 25 touches a game. So it's really hard to be that perfect all the time. So you're going to get a lot of games like this. And on top of that, you also got to bring into account Nico Collins, his number one target is off. That's a lot of his big plays. And Stephon Diggs is out with an ACL. So two of his star receivers are gone. Tank Dell is great, but he obviously had a way better connection with Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs during that time.
Hmm. Well, yeah. So Taylor, he's got to be happy he doesn't have CJ Stroud. He's got a pretty good team, but especially the noise is just going to get louder and louder in Dallas as Bijan Robinson booms against a struggling Dallas D. He's coming off a monster with 7 receptions and 1 receiving touchdown. Listen, Bijan is coming, and it is going to be a problem, and it's going to lead Taylor to victory right there. But just as an interesting note, Jameson Williams still suspended.
Yeah.
That might be an issue, but probably not. Taylor's got a complete team here.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I actually almost had a big blockbuster trade with Taylor this week. He thought about it. He said he was probably going to do it, thought about it, and then declined with no reason. So, Tay, if you could give me a reason why, we could try to work something out here. But I was trying to get him Javonte Williams and Bo Nix for Chris Olave. He needs a quarterback right now. I know that it seems like I say Bo Nix and everyone's like, Bo Nix, from the Broncos. But if you actually look, he's been having himself a pretty stellar year. He gets a rushing touchdown or over like 60 yards rushing every single week, which is crazy. 27, 14, 18, 20. He's a consistent guy who's scoring and running and a lot of potential with him. So I was trying to get it, but he didn't want it, and it's fine. I get it. I just wish he'd have gave me a reason,
But you sound like
but
Colin Cowherd over there.
but for the Bears here, he has a guy who's coming back who I think is a difference maker a lot of weeks. Jonathan Taylor's finally back up in the lineup. No designation. Doesn't sound like he has any limitation coming into this week, which Indianapolis, maybe that was their plan. They're like, okay, we got our star running back. Anthony Richardson, we're going to chop that off. Let's go ahead and get the old time Superman Joe Flacco in here to save the day. But he is easily a top 5 running back every week that he's playing. He's fully healthy. He is just a dangerous man. And then my other one is Evan Ingram, with, once again, kind of like with my sleeper, who else is Trevor Lawrence throwing to this week? Even if Gabe Davis is in, let's be honest, we all know who Gabe Davis is. He's a boom or bust player. He's not a guy who's going to consistently give you a bunch of targets. But Evan Ingram is a player that I think is going to get a lot of targets and a lot of catches in this game. Philly's going to go up, so they're going to have to throw. I think that Evan Ingram could be a real potential game buster. The only thing that worries me is he's playing Travis Etienne. But outside of that, I think this is for me, this is a Bears win this week.
Okay.
As much as I would like to see a Tay win, because I need the Bears to lose so I can get first in the Fire division.
That's right.
So yeah.
All right, Jordan,
did we talk about our teams?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about your team.
Love it.
I'm going to talk about Jordan's team. Okay. Well, for Jordan's team, let's bring out the Toradol, because a rib injury is not going to slow down Jaden Daniels. He just looks like he's invincible. I expect another big week from him. The Giants' pass rush has given a lot of quarterbacks problems this year, but Jaden's elusiveness it's getting legendary. I mean, he just seems to extend those plays when everyone else would have been down. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun divisional game between the Commanders and the Giants, and then Josh Downs is gonna love having Joe Flacco. But that being said, the Vikings are a tough matchup, just because Joe Flacco's a little bit of a statue, and that pass rush might get home. So I'm a little worried that Josh Downs might not get the targets just because he doesn't have the time. Flacco's not going to have the time. But I did see that you were playing Cortland Sutton instead of Javonte Williams. And I don't think it'll matter. But Denver, I mean, they're a bad defensive team on the road against a horrible Baltimore D. I'm just guessing Denver falls behind early and abandons the run. Like, just a little wondering what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, if when Bo Nix is throwing, that's the guy he's throwing to. I mean, he got some targets last week, got 11 targets. Mind you, it's against a bad Carolina team, but let's be honest, Baltimore got Ray Lewis on the other side either. So I think Cortland Sutton for me over Javonte Williams. The one I was going to play, to be honest with you, is I actually came this close to playing Cedric Tillman.
Oh.
So that was about to be the play for the week, because I think he's a sleeper. I think I talked about him last week, so I don't want to use him this week as a sleeper. But Cam's team is, I think, is getting a lot better. Like Puka Nacua coming back into play has actually made his team pretty scary. He aggravated his knee in practice, but he comes into this game with no injury designation, so that's perfect. But he is a top 10 wide receiver every week. Stafford loves to go for him. You wouldn't even know last week that he didn't play over 60% of the snaps on offense. He had 9 targets, 7 catches, 106 yards, and he also ran twice. It is crazy. He gets him 20.1 points, and he doesn't play over 60% of the snaps.
Wow.
It's nuts. What happens when he plays 80 to 90% of the snaps? It's an extra 3-4 targets, probably an extra 3 catches, possibly a touchdown. It's a 30-point week. Puka Nacua is a dangerous man. The other one that kind of shocked me, but we'll see what happens. Devontae Adams, Darnell Mooney over Devontae Adams. Now, I know Devontae had a rocky start, but I would just have the hardest time sitting Devontae Adams when, he is trying to get that connection back with Aaron Rodgers. He did give him 22 points this week. I hope it doesn't come to bite him in the butt. But either way, I do think that I've got this one in the bag.
Yeah, I got you too, Jordan. I definitely have you. What do you say about my team, Jordan?
About your team, Dave, you are starting to heat up at the right time, and it's never too late. Just a backstory. I was 0-5, or I think it was 0-4, or like 1-5 at one point last year or 2 years ago. Still made it last year, and I made it to the finals. I almost made it to the playoffs the year before. I was 0-6, tried that. So it's just about when you get heated up. It doesn't matter when you get the wins. It's how many you get at the end of the year. And your team is scary good right now. CeeDee Lamb, I talked about this last week. He's a wide receiver 1 after the bye from last year. And what did he do first game he came back after a bye? He only put 41.6 points. He was only one of the number 1 scorers in the league last week. So I don't see why that doesn't continue on. Once again, Dallas has proven that they are a bad running team, because we did not want Derrick Henry. So all you have is to throw, and then let's throw a wide receiver screen, and then let's throw again. CeeDee's going to get so many targets. It's going to be disgusting. He is going to be a huge part of your team. Alvin Kamara this week plays the infamous, team that everyone wants their star running back to play, the Carolina Panthers. He will be a running back one is my prediction for the week. Wow. He's going to have a huge week. There is no Shaheed on that offense. It is literally Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara out there. Derek Carr is expected to be back this week, so they do probably get that upgrade, which is fantastic. But who is he going to throw to? I think Kamara's going to get a ton of receptions, a ton of run. He's going to be a stud this week. I have you blowing Mahomes out of the water, but please tell me about Mahomes and let me know if I can change my mind.
Well, yeah, I think Jalen Hurts is going to deliver the pain in Jacksonville. I expect a boom from him. I mentioned Achane already. So he's also heavy on the Bills with Kincaid and Coleman. I mean, Coleman, they both get about 6-7 targets a week, and one of them does well and the other one doesn't. So it's kind of interesting how that's working out for him. And he suffered a kind of a dud from Breece Hall. I mean, what is going on with the Jets? They still won, but it was ugly. And it's just, it feels very Jetsy to everybody. Just because of all that, I think Mahomes just got too many holes on his team. And like you said, my team coming together at the right time. Bye weeks hurt me thus far, but we're back, baby. Projected to get the most points in the league, and I will bury Mahomes this week for sure.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, Kirk Cousins. That's another one I was going to mention. Kirk Cousins. You need the Kirk. You need, what's his name? Chains Kirk or Kirk O'Chains or whatever his name is when he gets into his alternate ego. I saw something crazy about Kirk Cousins. Like the first time he's coming in, he's like, me and my family, we're happy to be in Atlanta. We're super excited. And then it was like a month and a half after being in Atlanta. What was the interview? He was talking about like how the players called the opponent's houses like trap houses, and you just got to get in, get your W and dip. And it was like, it was crazy. Kirk O'Chains. I don't know. It's a nickname like that for sure. So,
well, let me hit you with something real quick.
Yeah.
That's the lightning round.
It's time.
So I'm actually going to enforce the lightning a little. I felt like you were a little lengthy with your answers last time. So I'm going to hit you with the lightning this time. So just a quick, I've only got three matchups to assess, but you're going to answer quickly and succinctly who you think you should start this week. So the first one is, should I start Tyreek Hill or Drake London?
Given the choice, it's definitely going to be Tyreek Hill. With having Tua back, as long as Tua is back, Tyreek Hill is a potential wide receiver, top 3 wide receivers. Drake London also has those capabilities. I think Tyreek Hill just has a better chance of booming with plus 50-yard touchdowns.
Okay. The next one in the lightning round, Marvin Harrison or Darnell Mooney?
Darnell Mooney. He's playing the Dallas D. Although I do love Marvin Harrison, and I don't think they're playing anyone too tough, but it's just the Dallas D can be thrown on. And Darnell Mooney is surprisingly taking a lot of targets this year. He has been one of the bigger surprises. But yeah, I take Darnell Mooney.
Okay. And the last one of the lightning round, we have Courtland Sutton or Amari Cooper.
I would go with Amari Cooper. I think there's just a little bit more consistency. Josh Allen can throw it down the field. Also a big play waiting to happen. Although Courtland Sutton had a good week last week, he can be known to be a little choppy. Amari Cooper always has a, potential to have some games that kind of go his way. And with Josh Allen at quarterback, I think that could potentially be a boom play every week. So,
boom. Well, guys, make sure you like and subscribe. Check us out on TikTok. We put out videos each week on TikTok. And, we appreciate everyone listening in. That's all for Spotify. For JD Fantasy Football, this is David. That is Jordan. Join us each
Peace.
week. But let's stay on for a little while and
Yeah.
answer some questions in the chat. Yeah, ask us what you got.
Yeah. Please. We want as many questions as we can possibly get. So, I really hope Tay's listening. Because Tay, I would like to make a trade with you, buddy. I have a pretty all right Bo Nix. You know, it doesn't have to be Chris Olave. We could talk somewhere else if you'd like. Did you pick anyone up on the roster or the waiver wire this week?
Not this week.
Did I pick up somebody on the waiver wire?
I would only.
Oh, I didn't even realize. Yeah, I picked up Adam Thielen.
Yeah, Caleb we were talking to Caleb earlier, and he was saying he was wondering if he should start Zach Moss or not. And that's been answered.
I think, yeah, doubtful. Answered that within the first 5 minutes of the show, buddy. I don't know if we had any other online. Was there any other ones online that people asked? I don't think we did.
No.
On TikTok this week.
What happened? What happened to my thing? Oh, it was only up there for.
Should be an interesting week. I'm trying to boom this week. I'm hoping Josh Downs goes off, but yeah, I'm gonna keep Bo Nix as my.
Do you use any apps to kind of or software to analyze fantasy at all?
No. But I did have a 10-hour ride here, so I was able to catch up on all my fantasy focus this week. So all in one drive. So I watched 3-4. Participate in fantasy football next year. Absolutely, you should participate in fantasy football. I would suggest anyone to participate in fantasy football. I think it's a fun time. It's once a week, so it's not like you're, you do go throughout the year, kind of keeping track of stuff. But yeah, I would suggest if you haven't given it a try, at least try it. Dave?
Not this one. This one should not participate in fantasy football. This one?
XX Boxy?
I don't think there would be a consistent updating of lineups for this one.
Oh, poor Cam.
Yeah,
He's had a rough go at it this year, man.
I felt bad drubbing him last week.
I know, man. I tried to vote for him. I can't vote for him this week because I'm playing him. I didn't vote for him last week, and you put down 165. Dang, yeah, that's right. Oh, you had Cade Otton, bro. That was one I was gonna put. How many leagues are you both in this year? I'm only in 2 leagues this year. Typically, I like to do 3 or 4, but I'm only in 2 leagues this year. I was one of the suckers who picked up Christian McCaffrey with my first pick, but hopefully it starts to pay off now. Somehow I've actually in that league I'm somehow in first place in that league, thanks to DeAndre Swift.
Nice. I think Caleb's in 45 leagues.
Caleb, are you in 45 leagues? That's pretty impressive, my man.
Maybe 46. Caleb, who is Foxy? You wish, Caleb.
You wish. Well.
It's the old Mrs. Lamb. Good to have you back from Utah, man. Did you have a good trip, though?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always great to see family. I was able to hang out with family. Played some golf. I got a new set of irons from work, so that
what
was
kind?
Fun. They are TaylorMade Q1s 10s. He's just afraid I will beat him. Sure, I'm only in 7. Do you pay for all 7 of those, Caleb? Like, are those like big? What kind of like? What are you averaging? What you pay for each one, and what's your average if you win? And if you were in 12 last year, I got so many questions. If you were 12 last year, did you win? Did you win one? Did you win multiple? Did you lose all 12? Did you get any money back?
That's funny.
Are you afraid that your wife will beat you?
No, if she beat me, it would be fine.
I'd be fine. I told my wife every year, I tell her, if you win, I'm happy for you. I might be a little upset if it was against me, maybe for a week, but I'm happy.
Yeah, we're super competitive just about everything. So it wouldn't be any different than everyday life. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, all right. Do we have any other last takers? Bueller.
I used a reference the other day at work that people didn't understand. Because you used Bueller and no one understood that. No one had seen the movie The Fugitive. So I used the one-armed man reference.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody
got it.
And no one knew the movie. So it was stupid.
Yeah, I've been there. I did another one, like a labyrinth reference.
Oh.
You got to be a real one to know the labyrinth. And, I said, like, I can't remember what I said. I was like, oh, well, laugh. And then everyone was like, like, no one knows that? No? Anything? Nope. Crickets. I'm like, no one's seen the labyrinth. Nobody's seen David Bowie in the labyrinth.
What are your thoughts on NFL Red Zone?
What do I don't know. I have the ticket, so I just feel like I like the red zone. It's fun and everything, but me and my wife are really into football. And so like we have 2 TVs downstairs. You can have 4 on each screen. So if I need to click into one, I just click into it. But I don't mind the red zone.
Okay.
If I didn't have the NFL ticket, I think it's a good way to watch multiple games. And instead of having to watch one game and just see game breaks when they happen or which not like that.
Yeah, I mean, especially here in the South, I don't get a lot of Packers games. So it lets me watch my Packers more.
Yeah. Well, we don't miss. We're diehard Cowboy. We don't miss Cowboy games, even if it's not on TV. Like that's like one of the reasons we bought the ticket was because for the chance that the Cowboys aren't on TV,
yeah,
we can at least watch it with the ticket. So we just don't. We don't miss those Cowboy games. Okay. I mean, I went to my son's game and had the Cowboys game on my phone while I was at the soccer game, which is really weird because I'm in Utah. I'm from Utah. So like Sunday soccer games don't exist in Utah. It's almost like works out perfect for me because it's always like, we always have Sunday off. There's nothing going on Sundays. We're good. We watch football all day. Here, they have tournaments that play on Sunday. So
yeah.
Crazy. Blew my mind. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't think people could do that. Turns out they can. Colts, baby.
Yeah, he's a Flacco fan this weekend.
Yeah. So Caleb, you're a Colts fan. What's your opinion? I know I have been trashing Anthony Richardson, and I'm sorry that I've done it. But you agree, right? Now that it's all said and done, you agree, right? It was the best move. He's got to agree. There's no way you don't agree. I mean, Anthony Richardson was throwing like 10 completions a game, which is insane to me that you had a starting position throwing 10. And was he talented runner? Sure. Was he Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels? Nope. And does he get tired? Absolutely. Who wouldn't want to push through to make millions of dollars? What do you think, Dave? Am I right on this? Do you agree with me, or am I just being harsh? Be honest with me. Am I just being overly harsh on Anthony Richardson?
Anthony Richardson he's not even like a divisive character. I don't know anybody outside of the Colts organization that believes in him. I think a lot of people think he I don't know. He can be a good backup, maybe. Come in and give a spark to somebody. But as a starting franchise quarterback, I just don't think he doesn't have, I mean, I don't know what kind of leader he is, but hopefully he learns from this experience, but he just doesn't seem to have just the moxie that other quarterbacks need to have to lead teams in the NFL. It's a hard league to start in. Good quarterbacks fail every year.
Yeah.
And I just, so did I hear them say that they were planning on starting Flacco like as soon as they could so that they could have a playoff run? Did I hear that? Did someone say that? Like, why didn't you start Flacco the whole time if he was the plan?
I agree. But I also think that you give him a chance to see if he can. Because I mean, last year when he was playing, he was getting a lot of running touchdowns. He was doing really well. He kind of made up for it being inaccurate. Now his arm is a cannon. Absolutely, he can toss. Once again, I talked about it week 1. He made one of the most beautiful throws I've ever seen, falling back, tossing it 60 yards in the air on a dime to someone. So he hasn't cannon. The problem is he's not accurate. And it's not even just the simple throws, he's still not accurate overall. He actually kind of reminds me of a better version, but a like slightly better version of Jamarcus Russell.
Oh, yeah.
Jamarcus Russell could throw like 50 yards sitting down or something like that. And but just didn't translate well. Yeah, Gardner Minshew. Everyone has. I mean, the thing is, he's just inaccurate. It's hard. And he can run for sure. He's a good runner, but it's just not enough. Like Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels, they can run really well, but they can also throw, a 10-yard slant or like like basic plays, and they still have cannons on them as well that they could get the maybe not as big, but they can get it down the field really well. So you just don't get that capability with Anthony Richardson.
And there are a lot of quarterbacks that it takes some time to kind of elevate their game to the NFL level. But I don't even think he elevated to the college level. I look at Jordan Love. He sat behind Aaron Rodgers for 4 years. He needed that time to develop. And maybe Anthony Richardson needed that time. I'm just not sure he has the potential to ever do what Jordan Love is doing or what Caleb Williams is doing. Like, I just don't think he's got that ceiling. You're saying a better Jamarcus Russell. I'm thinking a worse Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
you know
he
what?
had potential.
You did say something today that I had questions about. You said that the Houston Texans quarterback CJ Stroud could not run.
Mm-hmm. It's not that he can't run; he just doesn't.
I don't think I've heard that. I don't think I've heard that take.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't run. He doesn't run. Like he's a hard person to go. Like it's 2024. Like the only reason I took a shot on Jaden Daniels is because I knew he was such a gifted runner in college that regardless if he gets you a ton of touchdowns through the air, he can still get you touchdowns on the ground. But look, all year long, he's had 4 carries for 13, 1 carry for -1, 3 for 12, 3 for 17, 3 for 27. Like he's running. But I mean, last game, yeah, he had 8 for 59, which is great, but he got 3.5 for it. That's only because he was running for his life.
Yeah.
So if he's not having a 300, the 2 weeks that he really boomed, 331 yards, 1 touchdown, 330 or 45 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, and those are only 21 and 23. So he just doesn't have the legs. And if you don't have the legs, you have to be able to throw 300 and multiple touchdowns to get to the 20s.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I did see him that last game have to do it a few times, but he does look not as quite as awkward as Rodgers, but he does look a little awkward when he's out there running.
Yeah, he's more of a pocket, and which is weird because in college he actually did know how to run a little bit, but since he's become Houston, he's just been a pocket guy.
Yeah,
and it's great, but he has to be almost perfect every week, throwing 300 something yards a game and multiple touchdowns in order to be a real efficient. I mean, the team's 6-3. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I'm just saying fantasy wise, this is another case of fantasy wise. I don't think that he's an amazing quarterback to have. I stayed away from him for those reasons.
I don't even think we said the name Pat Mahomes this week, other than talking about the team Mahomes.
There's no need to. He's man, poor Cam. You spend a high draft pick on him, and he just doesn't show out at all.
He's playing Carolina week 12, so there's some hope.
That's if you're going to play him. He's playing them this week. Who are they playing against? I think they're playing
the Buccaneers, right?
Yeah. So Buccaneers are actually giving up a lot of points to quarterbacks defensively. So I think he has a good shot. So
okay,
I think he has a good shot this year. If you were to ask me him or Russ this week, Russ is on a bye. So
yeah, and I think Russ is available right now. Someone dropped him.
Cam dropped him.
So yeah, Russ is out there. And I think Derek Carr. Yeah, let's see. Did someone pick? Someone. Is he gone now? Looks like someone picked him up.
Who? Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
I'll tell you who.
No, he's on waivers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he got dropped and someone picked him up. Yeah, but Derek Carr is still out there. Justin Herbert's still out there. It's interesting who's sitting on the bench. What do you expect from Jameis Winston this week? 24 points, 23 points last week.
Yeah, he played really well. I don't know what to expect from him this week. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, Baltimore isn't a great defense, so he did do really good, but he did really good against a not so good defense. And Chargers are a really good defense, so it will be interesting to see. The reason I'm not playing Cedric Tillman is because I think that Joey Bosa or that Chargers defense is going to get to Winston. So I think this week it's going to be a little bit harder for him. But I think in the future, I mean, it's definitely an upgrade. It's going to help their whole team just to have him in the game. So including Nick Chubb. So I think they're saying that Nick Chubb is going to be, they made him a captain, but I'm really hoping that the Cowboys push before next Tuesday to try to get Nick Chubb.
Nice. They need somebody.
Anybody. I'm about to go suit up and start running for him.
How long do you think he'd last?
Not even a game.
You could go a series?
Maybe. Count me in for 4 touches, coach.
Okay.
Those 4 touches better be like an outside run so I could get to the sideline.
You do they get you on like a screen or something, you just get destroyed.
Yeah, just get smashed by somebody, spearing me into the ground. Concussion protocol, first time touching the ball. Right. Maybe I'm really good because I don't want to get smacked. I have a few good jukes. I'm out of here. Stutter step, different direction. Then go out of bounds so I don't get hit. Like that was all for 3 yards. Yeah, I'm done.
All right, man.
All right.
Appreciate you, Caleb.
Appreciate you, Caleb. Foxy, Wifey, everyone.
Saw Lex out there. Yeah, join us next week for JD Fantasy Football.
Let's go. Peace out, everyone. Okay.